Has anyone wrongfully assumed you were dumb and in the process made themselves look really dumb? What's your story?
At work one day, writing a menu board for lunch specials. A couple comes in and start chuckling behind me. The lady gives me this snide look and says, "What's a sandwich?" It's spelled S-A-M-W-I-T-C-H, honey. Ha ha ha, she wrote sand, like in the desert. I just smiled and didn't even correct her. That cocky stupidity was truly a sight to behold.
It's clearly sammich. OMG, we were at a work Christmas party for my ex-husband's job and there was some dumbass there making fun of another guy. He was telling us all how stupid he is because he says sandwich instead of sandwich. Everyone was just completely dumbfounded. This was probably 20 years ago and my ex, and I still bring it up whenever anyone says sandwich.
I had a customer inform me that the beer Yuengling, a very common beer in Western PA where I was at, was spelled wrong in our menu. She got really shitty about it, asking me if I felt embarrassed, etc. I asked her how she thought it should be spelled. Yuengling, upside down face.
A Dutch couple visited my workplace tourist visitor center and insisted that the French translation on our map was wrong. The reasoning was that Groenland shouldn't be there because it was the Dutch word for Greenland, not the French one. I told them that Groenland was also the French translation, to which they chided back, and how would you know?
Clearly a plot for free Wi-Fi.
Our school's schedule got revamped, which meant that one of our classes that was 2 periods long was cut in half to accommodate for all the changes. When I brought this up to the teacher I was co-teaching with, she called me an idiot and told everyone sitting in our table group that I wasn't very good at math, as everyone laughed. A few minutes later, the principal cleared up the new schedule, only for her to realize that she was wrong in the first place. Felt so good to see the look on her face when she realized she was the dumbass and not me.
What kind of teacher calls someone an idiot and continues to make fun of that person? What a horrible person. Glad she had a reality check.
She called her an idiot, super professional.
I am an application developer in the public sector. I have made many of the computer programs where I work, such as the human resources, incident reporting, and some of the case management systems. Several times, I have had people try to tell me wrongly how to use an application that I made. I especially like it when they tell me I should ask the people at the company. What company would that be? I tell them that it is very flattering that they think that the software was made by an entire company instead of by me alone in my office.
Haha, reminds me of the time we had a PM and his crew come in and brief our group on a migration they were about to do. What he laid out made no sense to anyone, and I figured I'd ask a few questions to maybe help him see the error in his ways. He got all pissed off that anyone would question his wisdom and asked who the hell I thought I was. The look on his face when I said the author of the procedure and code they were using was priceless. Fuck you, Greg. As a fellow app designer, I would listen and nod and take notes on where my UX needs improvement so even the most idiotic of users can understand it intuitively. Never pass up opportunities to meet and interact with the most troublesome end users.
When I worked as a cashier in a grocery store, people would always want to argue about their produce. They would bring up heads of iceberg lettuce and then argue with me that they were green cabbage or vice versa. I would always just smile, void the product, and then charge them for what they thought it was. The best was seeing people come back later pissed that their coleslaw didn't work. The best, though, was the sweet potato versus yam argument that I would have with people several times during the week leading up to Thanksgiving. Most of what we sell in the US are sweet potatoes, though some sweet potatoes grown in one state, Louisiana, are the yam variety of the sweet potato. But people often call them yams and will fight you over it, even though true yams are hard to find unless your store stocks stuff for Latin American customers. We did, but yams were rarely in stock and always more expensive than sweet potatoes. Anyway, sweet potatoes would go on sale for the holiday and people would buy lots of them. Every time I rang them up, I would get told that they were yams and that I was dumb for not knowing that. So I would void them and ring them up as yams for 4 times the price. When customers would want the sale price, I would kindly remind them that I had tried to give them the sale price, but that they had asked me to ring them up as yams instead. You know, I knew that sweet potatoes came in a bunch of different varieties, and had always kinda assumed that yams were a type of sweet potato. Well, after falling down a wiki hole, I now know that not only are they different species, they are entirely unrelated, and their respective lineages diverged about 140 million years ago. So thank you for pushing me to unlearn that particular factoid.
Here I was thinking sweet potatoes, and yams were the same thing.
Corporate trainer came to our offices to provide training. I popped into the room to say hello and see if she needed help. She was having trouble setting up the projector before the session. I started trying to help, but I'm not really savvy with projectors. She was getting frustrated with me as she assumed I was the IT dude and obviously not a very good one. We eventually got it fixed and I offered her a coffee. She was a bit rude to me by that stage. I got her one anyway. Fast forward to the session itself and I introduced her to the room of 40 people and thanked her for coming. She realized I was the head of the division and was the one paying for her to be there. I felt very smug at that point.
As someone who has traveled the world giving presentations, this person is an idiot. The on-site IT folks are pretty high up on the list of people not to piss off when you rely on their equipment to be able to do your job.
Reminds me of the internship where the one group, led by an entitled prick, vying for an internship is constantly rude to the quiet, nerdy guy. In the end, he winds up being the head of the division and boss of the guy they kept sucking up to.
Had a friend in college who was very full of himself. One morning while eating breakfast in the cafeteria, someone said, "I wonder how bagels are made." I said, "I'm pretty sure bagels are boiled." The pompous friend then said, "What are you, stupid? Bagels aren't boiled. That's *****ing ridiculous." Someone did a quick Google search to find that bagels are, in fact, boiled. People seemed genuinely intrigued by this information.
Wait, I thought they were baked.
I was working as a teller at the bank years ago, and a Korean was complaining about how slow and shitty my computer was. If I had been using an IBM, she'd have been out of there already. She works at IBM, they only make the best, fastest bank equipment. Blah, blah, blah. I slowly, deliberately turned my slow, shitty IBM computer for her to look at. Not another word.
Was asked by my brother and girlfriend which planet is first starting from the sun. Was then belittled for 20 minutes after answering Mercury because they were adamant it was Venus. I was just disappointed because we are in our 20s.
My wife and I were traveling with a couple we worked with in South Korea. We weren't best friends with them, but they were nice enough, so we rented a car and traveled around the island of Jeju. Now, this is a small island, and you could drive around it in 4 or 5 hours, but we were taking our time seeing the sights. The guy was a bit of a know-it-all, but they had been in Korea 6 months longer than us, so I always tools his advice. Anyways, I'm driving the car and we are trying to find the place that we want to eat. I say something like, "We are going the right way." This guy responds with, "No, we are going south. Trust me, I majored in geography." I look straight ahead into the setting sun and respond with, "Weird, we found the one place on Earth where the sun sets in the south." Well, that shit him up for a while.
My sister-in-law used to make fun of my English all the time. Whenever I mispronounced something, she would start laughing and telling everyone she's so cute. She can't pronounce this or that. I always considered her just a mean girl trying to keep the attention to herself, but the English thing really bothered me. One day we were drinking and she started laughing at something I said. I lost it. I told her I speak 3 languages while she can barely speak English. We kept arguing until I said, "Fine, let's prove it." We took a mock-up English test online and I got a perfect score. She got 812. That was the last day she laughed at me. Edit, spelling.
When I was in the Army, me and a group of specialists were standing in a circle, taking a break in the motor pool. A lieutenant came out and said he needed a forklift driver, went around the circle, pointed at each male and asked them if they had their license. None of them did. He huffed and walked away. He had clearly, obviously skipped over the other female and I in the circle. That was fine. We were the only 88M heavy vehicle operators and forklift licensed people there. The dudes were all paralegals and HR specialists. Everyone laughed. What an embarrassing moment for him.
I'm currently a junior in college, and a couple of weeks ago when the semester started dying down, I left the dorms to come back home and finish things out online. I also started working at the local grocery store as well. Around a week ago, as I was checking out 2 customers when they told me they wanted to pay 50-50 with 2 cards. Our system requires us to manually enter the price, so I did, and the lovely gentleman told me my math was wrong and said he's a sophomore engineering student at a school nearby to help justify why he was correct. I respond, "Oh cool. I'm actually a junior at insert much better engineering school. What are you studying?" While also pulling up a calculator and showing him he was wrong. Everyone always assumes the workers here are dumb, so it's always nice to show them otherwise.
A director at work did this recently. We work with various agencies. He tried to rat me out in front of the other direction, and our boss by saying I wasn't providing services to 2 places, one which I claim I am. I told everyone why the one site didn't get any services. The site wasn't eligible for the services he was talking about. It was a Zoom meeting, so I asked to share my screen. I showed them the proof that this site wasn't eligible. I then asked why he thought they were, why he felt it upon himself to check in on my office's sites, and why he felt the need to make sure I was doing my job with he wasn't my supervisor, director, and didn't work in my office. Come to find out, he decided to check to see if they were getting their needs met, because he had learned I also wasn't providing services at another site I claimed was getting services. I was easily able to prove that they indeed did get the services, and he was talking to the wrong person. In the end, he looked like an ass who was overstepping and possibly trying to get me fired or steal our funding, and I looked competent and professional. People are still pissed at him for this, and no longer believes anything he says.
When I was in 6th grade, our science teacher asked, "What is the shape of rainbow?" I instantly answered saying it's circle. Then the so-called topper of our class looked at me and laughed, and did some trash talk afterwards when the teacher said circle is the correct answer. Whole class laughed at her.
Interrupted a group of Chinese girls on the subway in Beijing when they were saying some rude things about foreigners. A 6 ginger-haired white girl speaking Mandarin was clearly unexpected.
Elmao, this reminds me of something that me and a friend did when in Munich. Said friend is Asian. Mom's Chinese, raised in Vietnam, dad's straight Vietnamese. She looks SE Asian and speaks Vietnamese, whatever regional dialect her mom's family has from China, and a decent amount of Mandarin. We were on the train to Neuschwanstein and these Chinese tourists got yelled at by the conductors for doing something, I don't know. Well, they start loudly bitching about Germans and how they do things, then trailed off to how stupid Western people are, whatever. My friend is staring at them at this point because she understands almost every word, so they started going in about how dumb they thought she looked, just being racist twits because she's so brown compared to them and she had to be American. Because no Vietnamese cold ever afford vacations like they can, they're too poor and useless, probably can't even speak her own language, ha ha ha. So they quiet down and she quietly says to me, "Remember when my mom and I taught you how to say yes and mean you agree in Mandarin?" I tell her I did. Okay, just keep agreeing. She just went on a loud rant in Mandarin about how Chinese tourists were the bottom of the barrel as far as all foreigners were concerned, because they were so rude and she didn't understand why they traveled since they were so unliked and didn't get anything out of it. They should just stay in Beijing because everyone hates them, including everyone else in China. They just shut up and stared at her doing this while I sat there, not understanding a word but agreeing in one of the 3 words I remember but acting like I fully understood. When I found out what I was agreeing with later, I laughed my ass off.